Lord, people. I think everyone can hear me. I know they can hear the game. Oh my. Yes. There we go. Right.
We might want to turn the game volume down a bit.
Right, yes. I am now. We finally got it to work. Bloody hell. That was, right, I had a nice intro and everything, and it wouldn't work.
Play again. Let's do it again.
Do it again. Should I do it between? Should I do? I'll do it between. I'll do it between Q1 and Q2. Oh,
Might as well.
might as well. Might as well. Got nothing else to do. Right, what I'll do then is you got nothing to watch here anyway, so we'll go back.
Only good enough just joined, by the way. With 2.5 minutes left to go.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome once again to the Limit Racing. And tonight it is the turn of our Division 1 grid to give us a tour of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Tonight, you may have seen your commentary team is once again me, Bidley, joined by guest commentator Silverside Boy. As I mentioned, the circus travels to Mexico this week with this 4.3 kilometer circuit in the heart of Mexico City, the arena for round 4. 35 laps of wheel-to-wheel action with 2 long DRS zones at the start of the lap, giving the drivers plenty of opportunity to overtake. And as I mentioned, we are here now. You should be able to hear us. Sorry for the technical problems. You wouldn't believe I've been sat here all day trying to get this to work. But there you have it. We have, I think, got it to work now. Nothing's really going on in game at the minute. Gary, do you want to do a little test so we can hear your lovely southern accent? Say hello
Southern
to
accent. Wow.
yeah, say hello to everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I think we're here. It's amazing. It's the best. It took so long to get everything to work, but I think we're live. I think everyone can hear us. That's the best thing. Anyway, as you might have seen, we've just had a Q1 then. We're now into Q2. We only lost one driver in Q1. It was AIM RX. I think everybody else managed to make it through. I'm just looking for Hoonigan, who did make it through then. So only the one driver, AIM RX, or we do call him Air Max as a nickname. Thanks for the follow there, Midfield Maestro, and appreciate that. We're up to 59 now, 41 more, and I have to drink milk out of a shoe, so thanks for that. If anyone's watching along and has any feedback on the audio, that'd be great, in terms of volume, because it's a new setup that we've been waiting for weeks to get this back. And yeah, if you could, please let me know if all the levels are okay. As I mentioned, thank you for joining us, Silverside Boy. Glad to have you alongside me then. So we've had Q1, and we can obviously talk about what we saw in Q1, and that was Drobel then, much faster than those in the rest of the field. So Drobel then looking like he's got the pace at the moment for Red Bull Silverside Boy, but did anyone else catch your eye?
I would probably say I was a little bit shocked at Object Fungus, because I know he's quite quick. Being so far back, but I think he made a fair few mistakes on his lap. The one I was watching, but he knew he was through, so he didn't really need to set that with a decent time. But yeah, I think Object will be much closer to Drobel this session.
Yeah, hopefully, of course, Object Fungus, winner of the first race. Gary, you're a bit quiet apparently. Should we turn you up?
Wait a minute.
Should we turn you up? Let's get you louder, shall we? Hold on.
I'll
turn you up in the party as well.
I think my voice is a bit...
You're only on 62. Clearly I got tired of your voice at some stage. There we go.
I think it was more from yesterday after the F2.
Oh, that's a bit loud now in my ears, so let's turn that back down. There we go. Hopefully that's alright. So, yeah, we might be able to hear you a little bit better now, Silverside Boy. So, yeah, it's Mexico tonight. Of course, you've raced this many times yourself. What do you think we'll see in terms of this year's game? Do you think we're going to see drivers prioritise these long straights that we have at the end of the lap, at the start, of course, or that twisty, tight middle sector where, of course, downforce really is key?
I probably myself will probably go focusing more for this middle sector, because obviously the cars are much more heavier, so you need the grip in that middle. You need the grip and the stability for that middle sector, because if you go for high speed, you're just going to be so slow for that middle, and that's probably where you're going to lose time.
Yeah, definitely could not agree more, as Tiddlewink then sets the fastest time provisionally of this second session of qualifying. Then it's a 1:17.4 from him, just pipping Henkers, who also managed to set a 1:17.4 then for Aston Martin. Hoonigan then puts his first time of the session on the board. We were watching Drobel's lap. Let's go back to that then as he comes around the final sector now, and we'll see if he can match that pace then that he had in Q1, and can he beat that 16.4 of Hoonigan in the Haas? Crosses the line, not quite, half a second back at the moment, but I definitely think we'll see some faster times from him throughout the rest of the session.
Keeping an eye on Object Fungus as he comes through the middle sector now. It just makes it look so easy through there.
Yeah, getting all the apexes, getting all the curves, getting everything right then through the second sector, and it's a 57.3, which is impressive for Mercedes. As I mentioned, he did win the opening race, but unfortunately has been absent since. But he's back tonight, Celestino, and looking to try and retake the lead of the championship. Our championship leader, Revenge Zilla, is also racing this evening, and Object Fungus then second fastest with a 1:16.8 for Mercedes, and not bad at the moment, but not enough to challenge Hoonigan's time. But you would imagine Silverside Boy with a 1:16, they should be through to the final part of qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're probably looking at a cut-off where midfield is 17.6. Maybe it's the cut-off point for the top 10. But knowing my luck, they'll probably go faster. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm putting my bets down on.
Yeah, you can take your best guess, Silverside, but you know you never know what will happen. Of course, as you mentioned, we might see some faster times. As well with Dark Grey Fox then, coming through Sector 2 now. He's definitely got pace on his day, and he's looking then to show us what he's really made of in terms of pace. We haven't seen the best, I think, of Darth Grey Fox so far in TTL. I know he races very well in other leagues, so there is potential here for Darth Grey Fox to have a Q3 appearance today. We're expecting 17 racers taking to the grid and trying to get into the top 10, and does just so then with a 1:18.2. But if our prediction's anything to go off, he might need to go again in order to be in the top 10 by the end of Q3.
Adrian spun after the first chicane, spaced him the wrong way, and somebody has stopped him. I think that might be Revenge Zilla.
Revenge Zilla just checking on him to make sure he's okay, I'm sure, there. And yeah, they carry on their way. Then Adrian needs to get a time on the board still. As Object Fungus then thinking a 1:16.8 is clearly enough, and chooses to retire the car early on then to save some tyres. Mag user then into P4 for Haas. Then Haas showing very strong pace so far, and you know, I think Hoonigan and Mag user a very decent lineup there, as Jock I think is still having connectivity issues in. Tiddlewink crossing the line then to start a fast lap then from Williams. Silverside Boy, I know you love talking around a lap in qualifying, so let's follow along with Tiddlewink's lap, and let's see then if we can get him into Q3. Take us away, Silverside Boy.
Right, as we go down the second DI straight into the end of the first sector, we're going to have a look at his time. It's at the moment saying purple, but I think that's just maybe just on his personal best is what I figured out. As now he's going to go through the tiny stadium section as he makes his way into probably the most difficult section of the track. The Maggots and Beckett style twist left, right, lefts, which you need to nail every apex if you want to gain the time. And it's so easy to invalidate if you just get off your line at one moment. As he's 4 tenths up, so at the moment it's going to place him just behind Drobel in P4, but we gets those bits stuck on the curbs and loses a little bit of time in the stadium section as he now makes his way around the final corner. I can't actually remember the exact name of that corner, but Tiddlywink will go P4 with a 1:17.0.
Yeah, great lap from Tiddlewink, and improving by 4 tenths. That time should see him comfortably through then to Q3, you'd imagine, looking at the times at the moment. But there is still some quick drivers in yet to put a time on the board. The likes of Groundsy, Sniz and Adrian, are definitely capable of a top 10 appearance, and don't rule out Mini either. I know he usually races on a Tuesday, but he is here this evening getting a bit of practice in and he can definitely spring a surprise and get through to Q3, I'm sure. As Henkers then now goes P2 with a 1:16.7. That should see him through then. As Midfield Maestro then on his TTL debut, getting involved today as per his request, and he's looking then to try and get a time to take him out of that 1:17.6 prediction, of that being the cusp of the drop zone into Q3, and he comfortably beats that then with a 1:16.9 for the Red Bull driver. That's 5 drivers now into the 1:16s then.
This qualifying is quite close between the top 5, sorry. You've got half a second gap, and we know Drobel can go a lot faster, as he said. I think he's got 1:15.7 in the first session.
Yeah, definitely. He has got the pace then to challenge for pole today. That's not his best time, as you quite rightly mentioned. As we're riding now with Sniz then through sector 2. It's a 58.2 through the second part of the lap then. Not too shabby from him there. He might need to have a bit of a quicker final sector though if he wants a time that's going to comfortably see him through to the final part of qualifying. Then round the final corner now, very easy to get thrown wide off that corner and round in a spin, and Sniz then sneaks into the top 10 then, just ahead of Senetco into P10 to join his AlphaTauri teammate then at the back end of the top 10 at the moment then.
Yeah, he's only 3/10 behind Revenge Zero, like you said, championship leader at the moment. But yeah, I think Sniz will probably just go on a slow lap. Never mind, goes to spin.
Yeah, that's not gone very well. As Midfield Maestro then thinking that he's through to Q3 with this lap, and I imagine he is safely through. Henkers, the latest driver, to join him in that assumption. Then we're riding with Mini then, Henkers' his teammate at the moment. Then he's just done sector 1, but that's the easy sector really. It is this middle part of the lap, as Silverside Boy mentioned, the Maggots and Beckett style left, right and handers, and you have to make sure you don't bottom the curb out there with these lower cars in 2022. That is what Mini did there through the second part of that complex of corners, and he's now abandoned the lap then. So Adrian and Groundsy at the minute, Silverside Boy, both Alfa Romeos in trouble here, needing to set a lap.
Yeah, I'm just watching Groundsy come through the middle sector now. Has done... It's not giving me a lap time. Oh, he's on a slow lap, sorry. Because it's saying he's done 1:36, so he's obviously let people through. Going to try and see if he can set this time at the end of the session. For where the track's going to be at its most grippiest.
Yep, quite right. As you mentioned, yeah, this is really the prime time that those drivers can get out there and get their fastest laps in then. So Adrian coming through sector 2 now, and as I mentioned, yet to put a time on the board so far in Q2. What can he manage then through sector 2? It looks very clean and tidy indeed. How quick is it in terms of pace? It's a 57.0. It's a phenomenal second part of the lap, but can he keep it calm through sector 3? Gets very out of shape there then off the back end of that right-hander coming around the final corner. How much time did that cost him? And it definitely cost him a good chunk, because it's only 8th fastest then with a 17.2, and I think he lost easily a second there, getting all out of shape at the back end of the lap then.
Yeah, just a little bit too eager on the power and just lost it. But he managed to still get himself through, so I think he might be safe, because he's got a 4/10 gap between himself and Zero, and all the guys behind him have got way a lot more time. And I think, as I say that, I think Revenge Zero has just made me eat my own words, because he's done 16.7.
Yeah, great time from Revenge Zilla, but one driver then who needs to improve. Groundsy's time only good enough for P11. Mini then into P13, and looks like he's not going to take any further part in qualifying, because he's come then on a cooldown, as Drobel now then smashing his Q1 effort and putting daylight between himself and the rest of the field. A 1:15.4 then for the Red Bull man, and what a time, Silverside boy.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone ever go that quick. I don't think I can do that in time trial.
Yeah, I don't think many people can. That is an absolutely outrageous time from Drobel then. And he is P3 in the championship at the moment, so he might have his eye on the championship lead leaving here, and he's putting himself in good stead to take that lead then with that time, and stead for pole position as well, it should be said. We're on board with Magus, and then he's got a slow car ahead of him that does get out the way. Fortunately for him, that might have caused him a problem had it not. It's 3/10 up on his best effort so far then. This will put him into the 1:16s now then, as the times coming through thick and fast, and they're all very close around the bottom end of the top 10 at the moment. And Magusa then comes across the line, takes the shortest run to the line possible, and it was an absolutely brilliant final sector into P3 then, just behind his teammate with a 1:16.5. And another driver struggling here then, Diamond Douchey, is currently on the cusp in P10. Groundsy isn't going to make the line, so he's out then in Q2. So does Diamond need to finish this lap? It all depends what Seneco's doing. I think he's going to finish it nonetheless. And will it be then an improvement on his 1:17.2? And only just then into the 1:17.1s. And Seneco is currently slower than his previous lap. Doesn't look like he's going to get through to Q3, and indeed he doesn't, rounding off the drivers then in 15th place.
He was a 10th down coming into the after the second sector, so he needed to gain, I think it was like 8 tenths he needed to knock Adrian out, who's probably thanking his lucky stars that he's managed to make it through.
Yeah, definitely just about Adrian, who we predict should be one of the quicker drivers in the field then. Struggling to get it right when it mattered, but that counts nonetheless. He is through then to Q3, and the session that matters then in the fight for pole, as we wait for Magusa's Haas to trundle into the pit lane, into his grid box, and hopefully the garage sometime soon, so we can get on to the final part of qualifying then and the top 10 shootout. And Silverside boy, I'll press you now while we wait for the Haas to be wheeled away, but I imagine the name that's already going to come up. Who's your pick for pole position today?
I'm probably going to go with Drobel, but I think Object Fungus might, if he can get his... Oh, wait a minute, what? Oh no! Diamond's car's driving around in AI has blocked another AI that's giving him a 5th-place grid penalty, even though the session's already over.
Ah.
Well, things you have to see in this game.
Yeah, that is less than ideal then for Diamond Douchey, but there is your classification then. At the end of Q2, and Silverside Boys pick for pole position, Drobel tops the times once again by just under a second over P2. It's Hoonigan, Magusa, Henkers, Revengilla in the top 5. Object Fungus, we expect to see more from him in P6. Midfield Maestro, Tiddlewink, Diamond, who, just unfortunately got that penalty, and Adrian rounding off the top 10. The bottom 5 in the second part of qualifying: Groundsy, Darth Grey Fox, Mini, Sniz, and Seneco then all out in Q2. Hopefully in for a better race than qualifying. And Diamond Douchey is not happy, as I expected him he wouldn't. Big shame about that penalty then, which, as you just mentioned, Silverside Boy, completely no fault of his own, but will now start, potentially 15th should he finish last in this session.
I think he's going to... Yeah, it's either 15th or 14th. I can't really remember, but that's not really going to help him for the race. He's going to have to try and qualify as high as he possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to try and get into the top 5 then if he wants any chance of a top 10 start for the race then. And we are now into Q3. It's still dry, it's still sunny here in Mexico City. And it is Adrian then taking the cars out first. No surprises there, Silverside Boy. You'd imagine with his form so far in his qualifying, he probably needs a few attempts to get this time on the board, you'd imagine.
Yeah, that's why I think he's gone out as early as he possibly can. Because obviously we saw him have that massive moment at the end of Sector 2. Uh, I think he knows he's got the time in there. He just needs to maybe calm his foot pedal, his throttle pedal a bit when he gets out of corners. Because we know he can get up there. But yeah, I think he's just trying to take a little bit more time for himself, getting a bit of a flow or something. Because I know that's what I do.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how many sets of tyres he's saved and whether this is a new set of tyres that he's out on at the moment. All the drivers, bar one, on track at the moment, and Henkers is just about to join them then. And there he is, coming out onto track then. So all 10 cars now out for a lap. Do you think we'll just see a couple of runs from these drivers, Silverside Boy? Do you think we'll see some people try and squeeze in 3 runs in this Q3 session?
It's gonna be close to fit 3 laps in, coming into the box 3 times and coming straight back out. But I personally would probably do a lap on that old set of tyres, and then second runs would be on a fresh set, so I have a delta, so I can see where I'm gaining and can kind of gauge where I need to gain more time.
Yeah, definitely that does help some drivers just having that gauge. And Adrian then, who was the first driver to put us onto a flying run in Q3 and validating then at the second corner, so he's backed off already and he's going to have to trundle around and try and save those tyres once again. Midfield Maestro now becomes the lead car on track to give us a tie first in this session to try and set the bar then for the other 9 drivers in the field. And midfield looking to not start in the midfield today, then hoping to be more towards the front of the grid, but looking like he's struggling slightly with Sector 2 then. Now it's our first indication of his time. It's a 57.2, so not a bad time from the Red Bull man. And coming now through Sector 3, and it'll be very interesting to see then where this puts him in terms of lap time. Crosses the line, it is just into the 116s, and a 116.9 from him. Adrian behind is going to continue on a lap as Matthews and now snatches provisional pole away from midfield Maestro. 116.4. Revengilla then P2 with a 116.7. And Hoonigan then just gets ahead of his teammate with a 116.3. But Object Fungus then, who we thought was holding back a little bit of time in this session, sets a 116.2 for provisional pole. But you would imagine with the pace we've seen from Drobel in the first 2 sessions of qualifying, and we might see now as he comes across the line, that he's definitely going to take back that pole position, and does so then with a 1:15.5. Drobel then back on provisional pole.
Yeah, I was following on board with him and I watched his middle sector, and he set a 56.3 in the middle sector.
Absolutely incredible lap from Drobel once again. Not quite able to match the 15.4 that we saw in Q2, but it's very close. And it's just amazing as well how consistent he can be with his lap times across the sessions as Adrian goes over the line then 5th fastest for him with a 16.4, which isn't a bad effort, Silverside Boy, considering they are a couple of lap old, those tyres.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be quite happy with that time. It's like P5, but I reckon it'll probably come back into box and maybe put on a new set of tyres and go again.
Yeah, you would imagine so. 7 minutes then left on the clock. We have our lull in the session as the drivers then will come into the box, put on a fresh set of those red-walled soft tyres, and give us then our final runs for the shootout for pole position. But Gary, your pick for pole position, Drobel, is 15.5. The next closest driver being Object Fungus, who we probably predicted would be, on a 16.2. Do you think he has got the pace, Object Fungus, today to get anywhere near Drobel's time?
After seeing him in other leagues, I do know he's got the qualifying pace to be able to get up to where Drobel is. It's just, can he do it on under pressure?
Very much so. And he will be under pressure now. Object Fungus, as you mentioned, not really used to having this much competition, I think, for pole position. But he is now found a challenger in the form of Drobel. And it'll be interesting to see just how he can rise to the challenge then, as Diamond now invalidates through Sector 2, through the second part of that tricky complex of corners then. So he'll be into the pits for a new set of tyres, and as we speak, Silverside Boy, Object Fungus, is back out on track and much earlier than the rest then.
Yeah, he's probably going to try and see what he can do. If he doesn't gain any lap time, he'll probably just come back in the box and maybe stick on. I think he only did one lap in Q1 and 2, so maybe he's got a third set of fresh tyres for himself. So we may see him if he invalidates early on, just chucking on his last set of fresh tyres and going for the last hurrah.
Yeah, potentially. And as you mentioned, yeah, this does give him then the opportunity to have another run should he want to do so. And you would expect Silverside Boy that he has got the tyres to do that, because of course we've seen him retire very early in sessions so far.
Yep. He's managed to get the lap time he needs after one go, which is quite impressive because not many drivers can actually do that.
Yep, definitely. And Object Fungus then down now towards turn 1, hurtling at about 200 miles an hour, then avoids doing an Adrian through the second corner there. Runs slightly wide but just within the track limits then. It'll be interesting to see if that's gained him any time then through the end of the first sector now. And he is actually 300 slower then than his first effort, but matching it then in terms of pace. He's gone very wide there out of turn 4, I think it is, and has backed off then, it looks, on this lap. So yeah, perhaps thinking there's more time in that sector 1.
Yeah, he could have easily just carried on with the throttle, but I think he knew that it would be taking a bit of the mickey if he just carried on full throttle and carried on what he was doing. So fair play to him to let off and maybe try again. Might actually see him coming into the box, but we'll find out in a sec.
Yeah, definitely one driver then who isn't coming into the box. Tiddlewink then, who was on an outlap then, is going to be the next driver to try his hand at getting at least onto the front row then. We've seen some pace from Tiddlewink, serious pace in TTL this season. He's been very good, and just as I say that though, he clips the orange curb, the orange Sasha's curb on the inside then of turn 3, and that unsettles the car and he loses a chunk load of time, and he's backed off then on his lap. So all the drivers struggling at the moment, Silverside Boy. Are you surprised, or do you think they're just kind of buckling under pressure at the moment?
No, I know this track very well. I know it's all about exits and the lines you take, and if you get one moment of unsettled the car on the curbs or the sausage curbs, you might as well just kiss the lap goodbye, because you're literally just going to lose it all down these long straights.
You know, we've just seen the same from Adrian there then, who just clipped that inside sausage curve and lost so much time in the traction zone. He abandoned the lap almost immediately. That's right then, with Revengezilla then in the AlphaTauri, our current championship leader at the moment, having taken the win last time out in a wet Portimao. No signs of rain here for qualifying at the very least, as he barrels into turn 1, and looks like he's doing a stellar job at the moment. Then of course then down this second DRS zone, and it'd be interesting to see if he's improved through the first sector this time around. Then he's just short of a 10th up on his fastest effort so far. Then avoids running wide there, which is crucial to avoid invalidation, trying to take as much of a wide line as he can to carry the speed then through the corner. And now it is all about this second sector. Once again, the car just bottoming out slightly there on the curves. That might have unsettled then in terms of lap time as he comes through that sector 2 cutoff. He's a 10th up at the moment. Might be enough to get Henkers for P7, but unless he has a fantastic final sector here, it's not going to be enough then to get anywhere near the front 3 rows. As he comes around the final corner, Audi traction out of that one, crosses the line, and it was a stellar final sector. Puts AlphaTauri into the top 3 then, a 1:16.3. He found so much time there.
Yeah, it must have just got the really good exit onto the. I think it's. Oh, never mind. Gets the exit on the. I found out what the corner name was the last one. It's the Mansell curb turn. I've named it after Nigel Mansell. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, popular Mexican figure Nigel Mansell, of course.
I think it's because I think he made a very famous overtake round this track in years gone by. I think they just named it after him.
Yes, Gary, we like that trivia from you. Can you bring more of that? More of that trivia. As Adrian then goes into P2 with a 1:16.1, then Alfa Romeo currently on the front row with Adrian as it stands. But there is drivers still improving. Hoonigan was on a slow lap. Magnussen then is currently up by just less than a 10th, but this might be enough to put him into the top 4. Crosses the line, and it is enough then to get into the top 4 and 4th place exactly for him. He won't be able to set another lap in this session. Revengezilla is going to have another go if he can. And who else have we got finishing a lap then? Tiddlewink, who wasn't really improving through sector 2, doesn't improve through sector 3 neither. He'll start no higher than 8th I should say on the grid. Diamond Douchey doesn't particularly look like he's improving by much either, and so too is Henkers. But it'd be interesting to see if they do find time in this final sector, just as Revengezilla did then. This will be their final laps. Diamond Douchey very sideways off the final corner, doesn't improve. Henkers stays P9-2, just missing out on P8 from Tiddlewink. Hoonigan has invalidated his lap, as to Revengezilla. So I think then, Silverside Boy, we have got our top 10 and Object Fungus only 3rd.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise of Adrian after his spins in Q1, which no one saw, and also his spins that we all did see in Q2. He did spin on his final run as well there while you were watching. I think it was midfield Maestro Costa, and I noticed that he spun at sector 1 again. He was like a 10th up, so he was going faster, but buckled under the pressure.
Yeah, not ideal then for Object Fungus, but we know he's a strong racer, and he might have that consistency over Drobel and Adrian. But Drobel, as we know, is a very quick racer too, and he's been in the position for many wins at many races so far this season. So there is the potential for Drobel to definitely come away with the win and convert this qualifying place. Diamond Douchey saying his run of 5th places is going to be gone. 5th place starts, and Diamond Douchey seems to be nailed to P5 on the grid, but will then start P15 I think after his penalty. There is the top 10 at the final part of qualifying. As I mentioned, is Drobel, Adrian and Object Fungus the top 3. Mag user in P4 for Haas, great effort from him. Revengezilla P5 for AlphaTauri, the current championship leader, then still in the top 5 and still in with the chance of a podium. Midfield Maestro in P6, Hoonigan then on his return to TTL in P7, and it's Tiddlewink, Henkers and Diamond rounding off the top 10, but Diamond will serve them that 5th place grid penalty on the grid. And Silverside Boy, I mentioned, have you got any more trivia? Well, I'd love to know if you found out any more trivia about this track.
Only other than this is probably other than Brazil, probably one of the highest elevated tracks. That's why the cars need to run low downforce because they're just so draggy
Yeah,
around here because of the airflow.
yeah. I think I remember. Was there a race one year where the engines were overheating or something because they weren't getting enough air or something into the.
I think it was the first time they came back here. I don't think the teams realised that it was so draggy that the engines overheated so much that I think there was like 6 engine blow-ups in FP1, and then they were like the FIA was like, look, it's like dangerous. Like, make sure you put less wings so your engines don't blow up because we don't want really to go in the race and not have no one finish because of these engines.
Yep, quite rightly. As Jock then looks like he's still having connectivity issues, will not then be taking part in the race. Unfortunately, we hope to see you back next week, Jock, if you can get those connectivity issues sorted. We love seeing you racing here in TTL, but it is then just the 16 cars that line up for the race, as we have had somebody ready up early. Thank you so much to whoever that was once again. I think that's the 4th week in a row it's happened. So if someone managed to capture it, nice little penalty coming your way. And Silverside Boy then looking at the grid then, who do you think is going to get the best start? Of course, looking at the tyre choices as one of the drivers, most of them on the hards, bar 3 then. So would you expect to see those cars come through the field pretty quickly?
So midfield Maestro and I think Mini will probably be having the best starts because of those mediums, and I know very well from the hards in this game, the hards take like 4 or 5 laps just to get themselves going. So we could see midfield and Mini making their way up, and probably see Drobel maybe doing a prime Sebastian Vettel, especially in that Red Bull of his, running away from it, trying to get out the DRS as soon as possible.
Yeah, very much so then. Of course, the DRS so crucial here then. Oh, it's midfield Maestro. Not midfield Maestro, sorry, Drobel. He was warming up his tyres and it seems to have gone round in a bit of a panic. And he has, of course, got going again, avoided a crucial disqualification from the formation lappers that would have set him a rather long way back then over the drivers alongside him. And he will be able to park that Red Bull then into his grid box. Adrian's just followed suit. That's one way to get temperature into your tyres, I guess, Adrian. And see if that affects your start then off the line. As
Someone else has done it.
Great.
That Groundsy.
Great stuff there from Groundsy. Sniz then looks to be the only driver to invalidate off the start, as AIM RX brings up the rear of the field then, and we will get them the 5 red lights then for the start of this Division 1 race around Mexico, and it's lights out and away we go. And Adrian looks like he's got a great start then off the line, challenging Drobel then down into turn 1. Now Matthews has also got the jump on midfield Maestro as they approach the first corner. It is Adrian then who is ahead, and it looks like Drobel's had a bit of a nightmare of a start then. Matthews are looking to get past now, but it is Drobel that does hold then onto P2. But both Red Bulls then having an indifferent start. Midfield Maestro making up places, Drobel losing the lead.
Yep, I've just seen Hoonigan get slightly tapped on the outside and had a little spin. He's now at the back of the grid.
Big shame for Hoonigan then, who had a decent qualifying, but these incidents do happen, and unfortunately for him, I think he's avoided damage and will tag on then to the back end of the field, so all is not lost for the Haas driver. Meanwhile, out in front, Adrian does still lead as Diamond Duji's day gets even worse then, as he has put the Alpine into the wall. No safety car just yet then, But that's a big shame for Diamond Duchy, who was, as I mentioned, 4th in the championship heading into this event, but surely will fall places now, and that just compounds his misery today, doesn't it, Silverside Boy?
Yeah, I think he just got, from where I saw his car, I think he's just got nicked on the curb and it's just thrown him off.
Yep, less than ideal then, as there is now then a virtual safety car out. I believe we've got Sniz into the pits. I wonder if he picked up damage then. I wonder if it was him that tagged Hoonigan, but he will get the damage repaired in the pit stop.
He just changed his tyres.
Oh, that's an interesting call.
Routine stop.
Very interesting then, as we've got Drobel then up the inside of Adrian, these two wheel to wheel, and it was a matter of time really before Drobel on those medium tyres and the pace advantage he has shown today retook the lead of this race, and the hiccup for the Red Bull team has been corrected, and Adrian can now, as you said, Silverside Boy, try and get that gap over 1 second, which is so crucial to do with the DRS at this circuit.
Yeah, he's got 1 sector to do it, and someone else has dropped it in the background. That's Aim, is it? What did you say it was? Amex? AMRX?
Yeah.
Dropped it in the Ferrari in the middle sector.
Yeah,
It's
big
now
shame.
at the back.
Big shame for AMRX. Yeah, you got it right, Gary. It was AMRX. Although I think we do call him Air Max sometimes as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was. I've just seen Object Fungus is struggling. He's dropped back behind Zero and midfield Maestro.
Yeah, let's have a look then, actually, to see the position changes so far at this stage of the race. And so no real big gainers. Hooligan, that we knew had that incident, down 6, is the only real loser off the start. Seneco has made up 3 places then to be on the tail end of the points now, then chasing Mini for that 10th place spot. And as you mentioned then, Silverside Boy, Object Fungus down 3 off the start, and he just hasn't really had the pace advantage so far. It doesn't look like he's going to run away with this one as we're used to seeing with this driver.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the tyres or maybe he's not got the setup right, as I've just also noticed that Mitchell Maestro's just got past Mag User down the first DRS straight as Adrian picks up the penalty after 3 laps.
Yeah, not surprising there by Adrian. I think we'll see many drivers get many more corner cutting infringements though, with how this circuit is and the nature of that middle sector, really catching drivers out then. But Red Bull then matching each other on strategy, and Midfield Maestro then looking to make it count as he goes 6/10 quicker than Adrian on the last lap alone then. So he's definitely got the pace on those medium tyres at the moment then. After 4 laps of 36 here around the circuit, Autodromo something Hermanos Rodriguez, I think.
Yeah, you got it.
We have got Drobel and Midfield Maestro both into the top 3 then for Red Bull. Mag User P4 at the moment, and Object Fungus has now got ahead of Revengula and into P5 then.
Yeah, I just thought it was quite impressive to see Object Fungus straight line speed. Zero was using battery and had DRS on Mag User, and Object Fungus just went past him like Zero wasn't even there. Like he had a few, as Object Fungus has gone up the inside through the middle sector past Mag User.
That's an unbelievable move then from Object Fungus then, as Revengilla looks to capitalise on that as well. Then Mag uses a horrible couple of corners. Object Fungus and Revengilla now both ahead of him.
Can't really tell if Mag User's got damage, so like wing damage from somewhere, or he just got stuck on the curb and had to kind of get out the throttle, and that's how Object got past. There's Hoonigan has gone around at the back in the stadium section.
Yeah, Hoonigan not having the best of races so far in the opening 5 laps, and as Mag User looks to retake that 5th place from Revengilla, who hangs it out and still looks to try and get involved. There's action going on all throughout the field, and Revengilla does then hold on to 5th place and crucially has DRS to defend with now against Mag User. We quickly switch there to Groundsy, I think, and Tiddlewink then getting close together at the end of that second DRS zone. Tiddlywink shutting the door slightly on Groundsy, who's looking to still fight Tiddlywink for P7, but has to lose the place in the end.
Yeah, it was a little bit close through the end of sector 1. I think there was slight contact, and I think Tiddlywink did close the door quite aggressively, but there was not that much major contact, only slight, so all fair and hard racing that was.
Yeah, all fair in the end, and we'll see if we get around to this time around then. Groundsy within 4/10 of the Williams ahead of him, and of course we'll have DRS where Tiddlywink does not. So this will be interesting to see here if Groundsy gets the move done then before the braking zone, and the Alfa Romeo pulls to the right hand side and slots up the inside of the Williams and into 7th place. Tiddlywink then misses his braking zone slightly and gets a penalty for that as he runs wide to avoid crashing into the back of the Alfa Romeo then, and settles for P8 now then.
Yeah, look at Drobal's lead now compared to Adrian's. Nearly 6 seconds, and it looks like Adrian's really struggling on those hards now.
Yeah, Adrian losing out then to Midfield Maestro at the moment. Of course, we're only 6 laps in. But did you expect to see just the one stop here, Silverside Boy, in terms of strategy? Just, hard to medium or medium to hard?
Yes, like most tracks in this game, it's usually a one stop, but if there is a late safety car, we may see some people maybe box for a set of softs, and then that'll be like interesting end to the race. But yeah, it should be just a straightforward one stop.
Yeah, definitely. There's not too much variation in terms of strategy. Of course, that is all safety car dependent. And as Object Fungus now has found some pace from somewhere and gets into the top 3 then, ahead of Midfield Maestro, who was gaining on Adrian. But it looks like Object Fungus has the bit between his teeth at the moment and can now set after getting into the top 2.
Yeah, I think Object might have actually fired up those hards now and got on where he wants it. He's come back from P6 and he's left Magus and Renzilla in his dust, and is now fighting with Adrian for P2.
I think this fight between Revengula and Magusa isn't helping anybody at the moment apart from the top 4 as they look to drop out then of that DRS 2.5 seconds back now. Magusa, who's in P5 at the moment then, so he needs to find a bit of pace and put a bit of daylight between himself and Revengula if he can, to focus on his race. Mini then has had an incident through the second part of the lap, the middle sector, the tricky exit of that complex off corners, and the safety car then, Silverside Boy, is out. It just misses the leader, Drobal. So do you think we'll see drivers coming into the pits now?
I've just seen Midfield Maestro just box. Midfield Maestro has just boxed in. One of the first drivers to box, along with Hoonigan as well. So, yeah, I think Drobal's been a bit unlucky there, because it's going to allow Midfield Maestro, I think, should be able to make it to the end on his tyres.
Yeah, Midfield Maestro then ditching the mediums for the hard tyres, and then, with how many laps we've got to go now? 27, I think it is. I think it is a tall order, but you might look then to take them to the end, and it'll be interesting to see if Drobal follows his teammate then in making that switch then as he comes towards the end of the lap. Hoonigan had to take the medium tyres. He was on the hards and he wouldn't have got them to the end of the race. It'd be interesting to see if he pits again to go back onto the hard tyres and take them to the end. As Drobal then comes around the final corner, sorry Gary, and does choose to come into the pits then if you want to carry on there, Gary.
Yeah, this also does help Air Max, Hoonigan and Sniz all now catch back up to the field from their earlier incidents, so they'll be happy to see this safety car.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Good point you made there. Of course, I'll be very glad to see this safety car. I think we did have fights up and down the field, but this will really bring everyone close together now, and it gives an opportunity then for these medium tire runners to get them onto the hards. And some might say it's a little bit too early, you'd think, to optimise the strategy, but unless we see a safety car later on, surely you see those Red Bull drivers now then really pulling off into the distance.
Yeah. They might struggle near the end of the race on high tyre wear, but if they can just keep themselves to self and not try and fight too hard or push too hard throughout the stint, they should be able to win this but like you say, run away with it.
Yeah, provided we don't get another safety car, of course, before the end of the race. Then we are now a quarter of the way through, so we are on lap 9 of 36 now, and it is quite a long race here. 36 laps, of course, not a particularly long lap in terms of time, but it will definitely take probably the full hour, I imagine, to get through this race with the safety cars as well. So there is still some time to go for all these drivers as it stands, as Max looks to cruise up to the back of that safety car pack then. So we will get another lap behind the safety car. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Silverside Boy, of course, thank you for joining us tonight on TTL Commentary. And have you got yourself a drink for tonight? Are you celebrating with a tipple?
No, unfortunately.
No.
I've got work in the morning, so I don't usually drink if I've got work the next morning.
Ooh, that's a shame. That's a shame. That is a
But
shame.
if I was drinking, it would be a dark fruit as usual.
Yeah, can't go wrong with the dark fruits, Gary. Do you drink it out of the can, or do you put it in a glass before you?
If I could be bothered to get a glass, I'll put it in a glass. If not, I'll just drink it from the can.
Fair enough, fair enough. Can't go wrong with that. As we've got Diamond in the chat saying he's having a smashing race so far. Well, smashing is one word you could use, I guess, after putting it in the wall early on.
It's part of Diamond's L plan.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his idea. That was what he was meant to do, of course. He's going to come back next week and win then. Where are we next week, actually? I need to have a quick look to see. Somewhere in the Discord. There we go. Oh, it's a sprint next week. It is a sprint around Monza. So
that's going to be interesting. Let's go in this now.
Very interesting, yeah. Sprint races. I do love a sprint race on this game. Gives us a bit of variation in terms of the format. And as you mentioned, thank you, Silverside Boy. The safety car will pit on this lap then, so we will get back underway then. And Adrian will lead the cars now. He becomes the de facto safety car on this restart. Has to let the safety car get into the pit lane, of course, and he is backing the field up quite a lot here as he comes around the final corner, and he'll lead us in onto lap 11, and Object Fungus behind him will be desperately keen to try and get him on the restart. But Adrian then seems to lose the back end actually coming across the line. I was going to say he looked like he caught Object Fungus napping, but the traction then just escaping him then, and Object Fungus now looking to get the move done. Adrian heavily defends the inside line into turn 1 then, as Object swoops around the outside and takes then the lead of the race. And on the safety car restart, Magusa was also looking to try and get into the top 2, but looks like he has to settle for P3 now then, and it's all going on behind then. Drobel making up places as Adrian looks to get back ahead, up the inside of Object Fungus, as there's been an inset at the back with Darth Grey Foxen, but they're still side by side at the front, and Object looks like he is just going to defend it for now, but Adrian feeling punchy. What happened at the back of the field, Gary?
I have no idea. Darth Grey Fox was actually backwards in a straight line, and I've just noticed Henkers has had also spin. Can't really tell because I've got the stupid helicopter, but he does have front right end plate damage, I think.
Not
Can't really
ideal.
tell through the camera.
Yeah, not ideal
But
for
yeah,
those two. And Darth Fox now
yeah.
10 seconds off the back of the field and Inca's a third of 4, so they probably need another safety car now if they want to get back in with a chance of points today. Then as Magusa now looks like he's got those hard tyres fired up and looks like he's trying to make a move on Adrian here, but Adrian's got the toe then from Object Fungus and uses the battery 2 to try and get ahead of the Mercedes into turn 1, then looks to try and throw it around the outside of 1. He'll be on the inside for 2, of course, but there's Object who gets the preferential line once again, and all while this is going on, Magus are then looking to try and pick up some scraps from this fight behind. This is very, very close racing from these two, and credit where credit's due. We haven't really seen any moves that were questionable from those two there, but it is Object Fungus that leads once again.
Yeah, while that was going on, I've just seen midfield Maestro, Sneers, Hoonigan, Air Max, Darth Grey Fox, and Henkers all in the box.
Yeah, then so 11th to 14th then all taking to the pit lane and running fairly far back now. Also midfield Maestro and Sniz then onto the soft tyres then, so really there's already the second lap after the safety car a very wide spread of drivers at the moment, but it is still Object Fungus who leads the way then and will lead us until lap 13 and a third of the way through this race. Now we are as DRS now enabled, but I don't think the activation zone was ready for this lap, so they'll have to wait another time around. Magus are then trying to follow the toe of Adrian and looks to try and make a move into 1. Has a sniff of a chance, but chooses not to take it and has to settle for P3 again.
Yeah, it looks like Object was also trying to break the toe from Adrian's. Now Magus has got run on. Adrian goes to the outside into turn 4. There's slight contact. Now, I think Drobal's now looking to get past Magus as well.
And then Drobal up the inside of the Haas and does get the move done and into the top 3 once again. Of course, he has got those fresher hard tyres on, but how much tyre saving should Drobal be doing here, Silverside Boy, to get those tyres to the end of the race?
Lots. I know personally myself, I think best I've done is 25 laps out of the hards round here, so Drobal's got to do, I think it was 28, 26 laps, depending if there's any more safety cars at full racing speed, so I wouldn't be pushing those tyres too much.
Yeah, definitely. I would, if I was him, look to try and save them as and where he can. Yellow flag out in sector 2. It's midfield Maestro then, who's had a moment and was in the wall. Has he got any damage? And midfield Maestro, shame for him. He was running very high up and in the points. But round once again for Red Bull then, and in P12 now then, and very much outside of the points, both in terms of places and distance on the track then. As we go back to the fight up front then, and Silverside Boy Magus, it looks like he's struggling then. He's 2 seconds off the back of Drobal now.
I have a feeling maybe Magus might have like the lime green front wing damage. That's maybe causing some issues, or just maybe he's overheated the tyres.
Yeah, definitely then. And midfield Maestro then choosing to call it a day. He's had a disappointing race so far. I think
Zilla.
Yeah, our championship leader, Revenge Zilla then, is round in the middle sector. He's hit the wall and lost his front wing then. He was looking on for some good points today, but that chance of good points might go begging now as he has to make an untimed pit stop then.
I think he's got the gap to his teammate. Might just come out just behind his teammate. Oh, as someone else has dropped it. I think that's who again.
Yeah, Hoonigan
Who's on?
not having the best of races again as he's round through that in that middle sector is catching a lot of drivers out then as Drobal then up to P2 now ahead of Adrian. I think the Red Bull midfield Maestro's retired car getting in the way there of those drivers, so that's not what you want to see really, but that is one of the unfortunate things of this game. with those retired cars rejoining the track then. And we'll have to see then if it has put Adrian out of DRS, and 1.2 seconds already back from Drobel now, who's setting after Object Fungus out in front. And crucially here, of course, the Object Fungus has got that penalty where Drobel doesn't. Silverside boy.
Yeah, so it looks like Object Fungus has got a lot of work to do because he's still got a pit. So he's going to lose about 24 seconds between that time difference, and then he's got to gain that extra 3 seconds. So it's going to be a lot of work for Object for this win now. But like I said earlier, Drobel's tyres will start going off eventually.
Yep, they will. And it will be that point, of course, where we'll see if the likes of Object Fungus and Adrian and Mad User, who all still need to pit then, will have a better second stint than Drobel, who's going to have to try and take those tyres to the end of the race if he wants to, of course. He can choose to pit at the same time as Object Fungus. Should he think he's got the better pace, he doesn't necessarily need to do the alternate strategy here. So it'll be interesting to see what he does choose to do. Midfield Maestro in the chat then. Strat ruined by 5 Lapper drivers. Yeah, looks like he was pretty much in the wars today. Disappointing for him then, as Adrian picks up another 3-second time penalty and is out then of the race. Another safety car.
Yeah, he's dropped it where Air Max did in qualifying. All the way in that back corner over there. He's obviously got caught on the curbs and it's just thrown him all the way over there.
Now that's not ideal then, so Adrian out of the race. Object Fungus with a 5-second time penalty, speeding in the pit lane. Well. He gets that 5 second, doesn't serve it at his box, and has to take it now to the end of the race, you'd assume.
Well, this has actually this safety car's kind of screwed Drobel over. Because Drobel's massive lead he was going to have after boxing earlier is now gone, because Object is going to be on a set of mediums right behind him, and now Object can go to the end on those tyres.
Yeah, definitely, and I wonder if we're going to see then the fight that we were promised, with Object having to work his way back up to Drobel, taken away from us. Interesting that Drobel didn't choose to match Object Fungus in pitting for the medium tyres behind the safety car, and he's thinking he has got pace in those hards till the end of the race. This brings, of course, all those drivers at the back of the field who had their incidents in the race back into play for some points. Revengilla will be very grateful for this safety car, of course. And I don't know if you watched last week's race, Silverside Boy, we had a fight last week, a 5-way fight for the win. It was a race-long battle. It was a fantastic race, honestly. But I don't know if we're going to see the same here. You'd imagine Object Fungus now on these mediums to have really the pace over Drobel to the end of the race now.
Yeah, Object might encounter some tyre wear at the end of this stint, but if he can get past Drobel quite quickly after the safety car restart, he should have a good chance of making up the 8-second penalties he has.
Yeah, definitely then. That 5 second could come in crucial. Darthbridge Fox getting a penalty then under the safety car. That's not ideal. Object Fungus.
We've all done it.
We have all done it. I think I've retired under the safety car actually. So yeah, I've definitely been much worse there. But unfortunately for Object, he's got his 3 seconds to add to it as well, of course.
Yeah, so he's not going to be. I've just seen in chat he put, "I'm honestly the biggest donkey."
Yeah.
I think we've all sped in the pits.
I used to be really bad for it.
I brake a lot earlier than I should do, and I think sometimes people behind me get really annoyed. I'm like, well, I don't want a penalty, so you have to deal with it.
Yeah, I used to be horrendous for speeding in the pit lane, but fortunately, I managed to get that under control just about. But
Well,
object
unless your
focus.
name's Monkey Boy Kurt, you just crash into the wall to slow down.
Yeah, that is also a tactic as well, I suppose. Just crash into the wall. Why not? Why not just crash into the wall? As we are then at half distance, believe it or not. It's taken us a while, but we are now at half distance. Lap 18 of 36. So it's still anyone's race, really, in terms of the podium and really in terms of the win, of course. Groundsy teasing us with a pit lane entry, but choosing not to come into the pit zone for Alfa Romeo. He carries on round. And of course, really, the big gainer at the moment in all of this is Maguser. He's penalty free. He's got a nice, fresh set of mediums on his hats. I wonder what he can do now from third on the road. Do you think he can challenge for the win here, especially including that penalty, Silverside boy?
Yeah. If he can stay with object and use those mediums tyres as well, he could cause Drobel a bit of a headache.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll be hoping he can do that, of course. It's a strong race so far. Did a fairly decent qualifying to go with it as well. So there is the opportunity here for Maguser. As I expect we'll see the safety car in on this lap, and we'll have 17 to go till the end. Then, so a rundown of the penalties on your screen right now. Then, so yeah, Object Fungus with those 8 seconds at the moment. Groundsy, Tiddlewink, and Sniz all with 3 seconds at the moment. Seneco with 5 seconds, and then you've got Hoonigan with 9, Darthway Fox with 6 then. So there is a spread of penalties throughout the field, and this might of course have a massive impact on the final results. Safety car, as we thought, is coming in on this lap then. So it'll be a Drobel restart, taking us away then on to lap 20. And he'll be wanting to get a good run here, Silverside boy, because you imagine Object Fungus and Maguser behind will have much better traction on those mediums.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if Object Fungus will burn all his battery to get this. As Maggie's has lost the position to Groundsy. Groundsy has gone past, but Maggie's has been dropped completely, and so has Object Fungus. He's been absolutely been had over by Drobel, who's now at the start.
Yeah, great restart then from Drobel. His first place then. He's only growing in terms of the gap compared to P2 then, over a second already. Yellow flag out at the first corner. Object gets a big swapper on as well, but manages to hold it. Then it's Tiddlewink who has had a moment then for Williams, and he's down to 12th now then at the back of this pack. And that's a big shame for him. But yeah, what a restart then by Drobel, who was very much able to defend his first place.
Yeah, it's quite easy now. Object's gonna try and get as close as can before the DRS comes activated.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see then if Objects can, as you would imagine he would, keep within that 1 second gap. He's doing a great job of it at the moment. Maguser 2 is looking to get back into this fight, and that restart was a very strange one really, but I think Groundsy looked to get the move done on Maguser before the safety car arrived and had to re-give the place back, as Maguser then sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:19.0 from him then, and I'm sure we'll see faster than that before the end of the race. Then Revengezilla, who had that spin earlier on, very much saved in Silverside boy, the championship leader as it stands, by that safety car. P5 at the moment and penalty free.
Yeah, he's a little bit back from Groundsy. Yeah, that safety car did save him, but yeah, still on for great points, and actually can see if he can get close to Object Fungus, he could still even get a podium here with his lack of penalties, along with Maguser.
Yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about that one. Dark Grey Fox now having a moment in his Williams now. And he's at the back of the field in P12 then, unfortunately for him. But he has managed to keep the car going, and I think it's damage free. It is indeed, so he'll look to try and get back into the fight for points now then, as out in front. Object Fungus has got within 4/10 here of Drobel, and it'll be interesting to see here if he does make a move into turn 1. He has got the assistance. No, he hasn't got the assistance of DRS. He's got to go around again to get that detection then. So he's looking to try, without that assistance, to get ahead of Drobel, and he wasn't able to do so then. Drobel defending very well with the battery, and Object though getting a better exit out of turn 3 as they come to 4 now. Drobel still leads the race as Air Max gets another time penalty. Henkers into the pits once again, unfortunately for him, so his race hasn't gone particularly smoothly either. And just seeing the chat, he's put pain. So I don't think Silverside Boy, this track is definitely not a driver favourite, is it?
No, it's the curbs. It's with these, like you said, the lower lower wide cars. Like as soon as you get on the curb, it's like a suction force, and it just throws you off. It can do it on full, traction, or even medium. There's no like getting around it. As I think just Air Max has actually gone around, has landed where Adrian is, and has lost all his front wing.
Big shame for Air Max, who was looking then at some points in his Ferrari, but now is fighting an uphill battle. But we've seen so many safety cars and changes in position. He's still got every opportunity to get into the points then. Oh no, he hasn't now, as he's retired then in the final sector. As just before that, Object Fungus we saw in the front of the picture making a move for the lead on Drobel then. Lap 23 now. It'll be interesting to see if on those medium tyres he can get away now then from the Red Bull.
Yeah, if I was Drobel right now, I wouldn't bother trying to refight him. Just try and keep within that 8 seconds and not get a penalty.
Yeah, definitely. That is, of course, what Drobel must do, with 14 left then on the lap counter. And he's still got time then, Drobel, to try and keep that gap down. I wonder if he can use DRS here, Silverside Boy, to his advantage. Can he, do you think, use that to keep touch with the Mercedes ahead of him?
Yeah, because from what I saw on the first couple of laps, Drobel looks like he has got very high top end speed. Because I was watching Object burn his battery, trying to keep up with him, and just Drobel was pulling away, and he wasn't even using his battery. I think Drobel's just stayed in the DRS. You can see the time just coming right down. Look how much he's gaining on Object Fungus down the straight. I think that was like 4 tenths in just one straight.
Yeah, of course, he gets the double benefit now as well down this second straight, so there's only more time to gain from this. You imagine that those hard tyres, 15 laps old now, will be screaming around the middle part of the lap. Then we're 2/3 of the way through here of this Division 1 race. Round 4 around Mexico. It is still Object Fungus who leads the way, then having retaken the lead from Drobel, but he hasn't had it his own way today. He's had to fight for it, but he is now leading the race on a better set of tyres as well than the Red Bull, who was the favourite coming into the race, but strategy hasn't been kind to him. He's now P2, but still keeps touch then with the Mercedes, looking to try and keep within that 8-second gap that Object Fungus has built up then through a combination of corner cutting penalties and speeding in the pit lane then.
Watching the battle between Revenger and Groundsy. Revenger is still stuck behind Groundsy.
Yeah, Revenger then, who's managed to keep it penalty free as well so far. Only one of 4 drivers who's managed that feat then, looking to get ahead of Groundsy. Do you think there's still some outside remote chance of a podium here for Revengezilla?
If he keeps staying in the DRS of Groundsy, letting Groundsy pull him along, there may be a chance. I think I'm doing it in math in my head. I think Zoa's only, 6 seconds behind Object. Hang on a minute, I can actually check from the leader. He's just over 7 seconds. So if it ends like this, Zoa would get a podium.
Yeah, of course, still some way to go at the minute though, but there is still the chance of other drivers picking up penalties, but he might want to clear this Alfa Romeo if he can do, because the gap now between third and fourth, 5 seconds between Magusa and Groundsy, so needs to find some pace from somewhere. If that's passing Groundsy, then so be it, but he needs to get that done sooner rather than later if he can. As Hoonigan now, who's had a very interesting race so far then in P8, in a three-way fight actually for P7, as he's on medium tyres that he wore early on this race, but has got the pace over Sniz at the moment. Hoonigan, we know, is a very quick driver on his day, but just hasn't had the look so far at this circuit. Now, would he look to make a move on Sniz into turn 1? Surely with the DRS assistance as well, he'll get it done then before the first corner, and does indeed pull out on the AlphaTauri. Now will Tiddlewink look to have a sneak through as well, not quite able to do what Hoonigan managed, but now of course he'll get DRS once again up to turn 4, and pulls in to the right hand side. No battery to assist him though with this, it is purely the DRS in a straight line, and Sniz does very well to defend the move and keeps that P8 then.
Yeah, I think Tiddlywink may have slightly tapped the rear of Sniz there. It looks like Tiddlywink got a little bit wary on the exit.
Not
That
ideal.
maybe just been a lag little hit, but from what it looked like on this, so Sniz gets a penalty.
Yep, not ideal for Sniz then, who picks up another penalty. Drobel's doing all he needs to do so far then, and keeping within a second of Object Fungus, using that DRS to keep within the 8-second gap that he can't allow to gain between him and Object at the moment. As we cut back to the penalty situation at the moment, then it's 8 seconds still for Object Fungus, but those extra penalties for Sniz and Hoonigan take them to 9 and 6 seconds now. Then Tiddlewink also on 6 seconds, as he's having a move then with Sniz down into turn 1, and he is now ahead as they come through the first couple of corners. I think he'll get DRS to defend with now as well, or is it Sniz? No, it is Tiddlewink who's got it. He opens it a bit late though, but doesn't need it in the end. It's P8 for Tiddlewink on the road, and he can now set off after Hoonigan in P7.
Yep, Hoonigan just absolutely has got some pace out of nowhere, on, even with 14 lap old mediums.
Yeah.
What you'd probably be wondering where he would be if he didn't have the spins.
Yeah, definitely. It's Tiddlewink then gets another 3-second time penalty. That could be crucial in his fight then for that 8th place and potentially 7th place ahead of him on the road, as Object Fungus then is fighting Drobel into turn 1. Drobel's actually ahead then, interestingly enough. So Drobel very much still with the pace on those hard tyres. He's now got DRS as well to defend against Object Fungus, and Drobel somehow, Silverside Boy, is actually quicker than Object Fungus as it stands.
Yeah, maybe Drobel has been listening to me about tyre saving, just by using the DRS to bring him back, because he must have done a lot of work, as there's an instant at the back with Groundsy and Zilla as contact has been made between them.
Well, there goes to there's remote chances then of that podium, still with P4 on the cards. It'd be interesting to see what's happened between the two drivers and whether we get any insight into that after the race. That I'm sure we will, as Object Fungus then now is within half a second of Drobel once again. And I wonder if we're going to have another swap then for the lead down into turn 1. The Mercedes gaining and gaining, pulls to the right hand side of the Red Bull looks to get the move done before the corner, and once again does manage to do so, and will now have the DRS to defend once again. Do you think we see here Suicide Boy with that long straight? I think that DRS zone needs to be moved a little bit further down the road because it seems so powerful in order to make an overtake there.
Yes, especially in this game, like the DRS. I know you've said it a few times this season that you feel like the DRS doesn't really do very much, but I think opposite. I think if you can use the battery and DRS and somebody who hasn't got DRS, you can absolutely waltz past people. So yeah, I think the DRS on this track, I think to be honest, they actually might just need to remove that one completely. Just use like slipstream. I don't think DRS actually needs to be needed with a straight that long.
Very much so. The drag would naturally obviously give you a bit more. The toe would allow you to get ahead of the car in front. So we've seen some easy overtakes into that corner as Hoonigan then has had another problem, unfortunately it seems, and he's now down to P9 and P10. He's still in with a chance though of a sole championship point if he takes that house round another 7 laps then, as we're on now to lap 30. Drobel still in P2, having briefly retaken the lead, but is now back in second place. But a net first after the penalties take shape, as we've got Nigel Pickle in the Twitch chat. Good evening to you, Nigel Pickle. Thank you for joining us. Hello, sexy, he says. Hello, sexy to you too. Tiddlewink, my game is lagging and I have a broken front wing. That's less than ideal. As Hoonigan then chooses not to take that championship point and retires from the race. Unfortunate for him. He's had a bit of a up and down race really, but we know he has got pace and we hope to see him back then in TTL next week for the sprint around Monza, and he should be able to put in a solid result there then, as we only have 10 drivers left, so all of those that finish the race now will get that championship point. And Drobel remains within a second of Object Fungus. Interestingly enough, apparently doesn't have the DRS this time around, but still managed to gain time.
Yeah, he was 1.1. It's just the power of his straight line speed that he's got on his setup. Just gained 4 tenths and right back in the DRS again.
Yeah, he's done very well then to get back within that DRS, perhaps using a bit of the battery to do so. And he's doing all he needs to do here with another 7 laps to go, 6 laps to go. And Drobel's still on course then for the win here, and it will be the championship lead, I believe. With that, it's so close in Division 1 at the minute. And yeah, with that, I think he will be the championship leader. But the man who's currently the championship leader, Revenge Zilla, still then Silverside Boy in P5, cannot get past Groundsy then for P4.
Yeah, I think Zilla's having the same problem as Object. That's the second time I've cursed somebody. Every time Zilla gets the DRS on Groundsy thinks to just pull away under the DRS.
Yeah, very much so. The Revenge Zilla with that 3 seconds will now very much need to try and get ahead of Groundsy on track, because he can't do it with the penalty advantage anymore then, as a driver with penalty advantage is still Drobel. 4 tenths back now from Object Fungus. I think Silverside Boy is kind of doing exactly what you said to do now. Just hang behind the Mercedes, keep within that DRS, keep within the gap needed, and the race win will just easily be his.
Yeah, maybe Object might try do some mind games near the end. Might let Drobel pass and try and force Drobel into mistakes, maybe get him to try and spin. The old dark arts of Formula 1, but I think Drobel will just probably be happy just as, like you said, just to sit behind.
Yeah, Drobel at the minute then within that second gap, still Magyus as well, loitering for a P2. As it stands, Object will still finish on the podium, but he will be behind Drobel and Magusa at the moment, and this titanic fight for P4 is still taking shape here. Revengula and Grounds' Revengula then just taps the rear of the Alfa Romeo, and I wonder if that's giving some slight damage to that front wing. He got a little bit heavy on the brakes, didn't cause Groundsy too many issues, but he carries on round then. Revengula still P5, but still within a second of the car in front then.
Yeah, I'm watching Zilla. He gains from like 8 tenths back where he was to 4 tenths. He just can't get anywhere near Groundsy.
Yeah, this really is the only fight really on track that matters, with other fights being decided by penalties. Revengula does need to get ahead, as I've mentioned, of Groundsy on track to take P4 then, and the 12 points that come with it. As we switch then to look at our fastest lap at the moment, and it will be Object Fungus taking the extra point for that, unless Darth Grey Fox, I think, has just been in the bits for the soft tyres, can snatch that point away from Object Fungus. He'll have a tall order beating a 1:18.0, but it's not impossible at this stage of the race, as Revengula just can't get past it. I don't know why. He just does not have, with how we've been saying the DRS is so powerful, do you think that that's a turn to Grounds' setup as he set it to be, you know, less draggy in a straight line?
But we'll see right now. So you see there was only 5 tenths behind, and you'd think you've seen Object Fungus get past him. Like, Zero's not even using his battery. Like, by the end of the straight, he only gains like 2 tenths.
Yeah.
And if he's saving it for the last lap, maybe overtake, due to the fact that he knows if he gets past, Grounds is just going to be able to get him straight back.
Yeah, thinking about it, really, that would be the only time you would expect. Oh, as Revengula and Groundsy come together.
Again.
Just as we say that then, Revengula into the back of Groundsy, and I think very sportsmanlike. Revengula gives the place back to Groundsy then. So, yeah, I think he put his hands up there and admitted he was at fault, but very late on the brakes there, Silverside Boy, by Zilla.
Yeah, just maybe just out of frustration. Just frustrated getting stuck behind that Alpha Romeo for so long. Dropa's now about to go past Object Fungus again.
Yeah, those hard tyres have still somehow held on enough to give him something to fight with then, and Droba wants to take it now on track. He's put in a fantastic drive today, and it really would pretty much sum up how great he has raced today, with the gap he had in qualifying and the performance he's put in the race, even if the strategy hasn't helped him. But now, Silverside Boy, a 3-second penalty for Drobel puts Magusa in pole position to take the win today.
Oh my god, Magusa is... Oh, who was that in the background? I think Object Fungus has made a mistake.
The Object Fungus has made a mistake.
Oh, he's just come back on the... And Magusa is only 2.5 seconds behind now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there between Magusa and Object Fungus, but that was the last thing that Magusa wanted, after Drobel then picking up a 3-second penalty. Very...
Oh no, Drobel's dropped it!
Oh dear! Drobel!
No! He's got away with no damage, but I think the tyres have gone. I think he's got a puncture.
Let's have a look then to see with Drobel, as he still gets up to 190 mile an hour on the straight then, so looks okay at the moment. But as you said, Gary, the tyres at the minute, 27 laps old, they just look like they gave up on him there.
Yeah, it looks like the way he spun, it's the rear is which you let go and snapped. As Darth Grey Fox, sorry, Tiddlywink has gone around.
Tiddlywink round once again, unfortunately for him. He'll still pick up a
How's
point later.
Mag User gonna come away with this win?
Yeah, this is something very, very strange. Not that anyone predicted this to happen. As Object Fungus then leads us into the final sector for the final time. The fireworks go off, but they're not going off for the Mercedes man. They're going off for the Haas driver behind. Object Fungus takes it on track, but it will be Mag User then taking the win today. A fantastic drive, really. He's just kind of been in the background throughout the entire race and snatches the win right at the end after drama for Drobel on the final corner. And he went round and finishes still on the podium, but the win was very much his for the taking today. Drowsy then in the massive fight, the race-long fight really, with Revengela, will take P4 after being spun around by the AlphaTauri driver with 3 to go. Does still manage to get 4th place. Seneco then, a great finish for him. I think that's his best in TTL then. 6th place and the 8 points that go with it. Sniz 2 making it a great day at the office for AlphaTauri then in P7. Henkers in P8 as he crosses the line and keeps it penalty free. He might have been 24 seconds off Sniz, but penalty free, and still a very good drive from Henkers as Tiddlewink and Darth Grey Fox then, the two Williams, 9th and 10th, gonna dribble across the line really. Darth Grey Fox, there you go, P9. Tiddlewick then doing a bit of showboating, I think, to take P10.
He's doing what we did at the F2.
Yeah.
Celebrating with saying hello to the fans.
Say hello to the fans. He didn't quite have the race he would have wanted to today, but he will get the last point.
Please say the AI smacks him off.
Eventually.
Please say the AI smacks him before the end of the race.
He might get disqualified here if he's not careful.
I think he's trying to stay behind Darth Grey Fox. I think Darth Grey Fox actually spun, came back on track and got a 10-second time penalty just getting back on the track.
Yeah. That's less than ideal then. Tiddlewick does cross the line to take that P10 then. Yeah, maybe there was some incident there that he thought better of. Yeah, he's just put it in the chat then, giving Darth Grey Fox the P9, he said. So, very sportsmanlike from Tiddlewick there, and allowing him, despite the penalty, to take P9 then. But here's your podium, and I don't think many predicted the man that was standing on the top step then. Mag User takes probably a very unlikely win. I don't think he thought he was going to get the win today. But after Drobel's misfortune on the final corner of the final lap, he does take the win. It is Object Fungus who finishes on the second step. I think he was resigned to third at one stage, but as I mentioned, Drobel then getting it all wrong at the end and could have to settle for P3 then, the pole sitter. We'll get the full classification just now then. So we've been through the top 10. There are your points finishers today, and the rest of the field then we had Hoonigan P11 just missing out. Emax in P12 then, Adrian P13, he had pace today, starting second on the grid but was unable to get points and had many instances during the race. Midfield Maestro on his TTL debut had pace in qualifying, had pace on the medium tyres at the start, but unfortunately getting caught up in incidents. P14 to him, hopefully see him back in TTL with his pace next time around. And then it is Mini and Diamond Douchey who probably had the most unluckiest race I think I've seen from a driver so far this season. An unwanted 5-place grid penalty from his AI in qualifying, and round on the, I guess the opening lap, he put it in the wall actually, so finishes P16. There is one more order of business. Silverside Boy, as I mentioned, thank you for joining me once again this evening, and you have the honours out of all the drivers then in the field. Who is your pick for driver of the day?
Well, I saw someone say Snidge should get it, but I think just because they were just in the background for the entire race and wasn't really put in down to win, I think Mag User's got to take driver of the day.
Yeah, Magyu is a driver of the day indeed. It was a fantastic drive and a very disciplined drive, avoiding the penalties, and took the win after the downfall of Drobel and the penalties for Object Funguson. So Magusa is the driver of the day for round 4 in Division 1. And everyone can hear me again. So as I said, that is all we've got time for today. Thank you for joining me once again, Silverside Boy, for tonight's race. We are back tomorrow. It is the turn of Division 2. I think I'll be really looking forward to that in terms of what we've seen tonight. Maybe not. Get your practicing, lads. We want to see, hopefully, a little bit better in terms of finishers. Our friends at the URC are racing this week, and luckily for them, they're also racing Mexico in round 13 of their 4th season. That is this Friday at 7:30 at night then. And our friends, of course, at Fair Play Racing League are racing 3 nights this week, Wednesday to Friday. It's time for round 12 there, and it is France for them, so a slightly better track for some of those taking part.
Not too sure about that.
Well,
Big track limit, so it's bad around there.
Slightly better.
Mexico.
Slightly better. Not the best, but you never know. But that is all we've got time for, as I mentioned. So thank you once again for watching. Thank you to my co-commentator for joining me this evening. Please join in tomorrow. We had a fantastic race in Division 2 last week. Hopefully we are treated to another one tomorrow. But until then, take care, and it's goodbye from me.